A Disabled Person Reviews Disabled Meter at Part 113, Blue Eye Samurai. The first thing I'm going to say is the show is incredible, but it is also very violent and has a lot of nudity. It's animated, which helps, but still, so just keep that in mind should you choose to check it out after this review. The disability in the show is handled with such attention and dignity and care, but was also always more or less secondary to the character or situation at hand. It was never, this is a disabled character, but rather, this is the character. Also, they happen to be disabled, which is incredibly important. And also, there's just so much disability, which made it so much better. You have Ringo, who's Mizu's apprentice, who is born without hands and is able to more or less adapt, but can sometimes be a bit clumsy. He also appears to have some sort of developmental disability and that he often misses cues, he's often confused, is constantly humming, infodumps regularly, and speaks in a monotone, but none of that is ever treated as a joke. He's always proving himself and striving to be a better version of him, even if that looks a little bit different. Swordfather is blind and a master sword craftsman. Kinuyo is deaf and non-speaking, which is probably primarily why she was abused and sold off by her father, who never bothered to presume competence, but there's also a world where that had nothing to do with anything. Takayoshi has a stutter that was handled incredibly as well, and also ended up being somewhat linked to sexuality later in the show, which I've never seen a speech difference be portrayed as hot before, and thought that was super cool. Mizu's PTSD was handled beautifully, especially with how often, particularly in later episodes, it becomes kind of unclear what is present and what is flashback. There was this dissociative, confused quality to it that I was really impressed by, and it also felt like the flashbacks were not primarily there as a plot device, but more like the kinds of things she might genuinely be thinking about in those specific moments. There's also something anthropologically interesting about the continued use of disability language, such as deformed toward Mizo as a mixed person, because to them, her facial features are treated much like any other facial difference is. And that creates a really interesting reflection of the cultural aspects of disability and race and visible difference that I quite liked, and don't often see acknowledged in media to any degree. All of the disability in the show was focused more on it being disabling because of how others treated them because of their difference, not that the said difference was inherently bad, and often that thing would stop becoming disabling once they were in a supportive environment or otherwise able to accommodate themselves, which I was just deeply impressed by. My single critique would be that the opening text of the first episode should have been read aloud, particularly since there is a blind character. I know the audio description does include this text, but I wish that had been integrated into the show itself. But otherwise, absolutely no notes.